Hi there. Did you know that we are now in week 8 out of a 16-week semester? So we are at our halfway point. So just for kicks, I've got this video starting at our introduction and scrolling forward to see how much you've accomplished, right? You learned how to think like an art historian. We went through the 17th century and then into the 18th century, getting more deeply into neoclassicism and romanticism, and you've come through the age of revolution and started to come to an age of art that challenges authority. And you're going to see more of that in this next shiny new module, where you are now coming onto the mid 19th century, and so much that is basically foundational to the world we have now is in play. For instance, the camera. You're going to see photography invented. So for the first time in this class, you get to look at mechanically made images instead of handmade images, and to think about how those are different. And then, of course, in terms of historical context, I'm saying that this is momentous steps toward modernity. So I made a little timeline for you. 1839 is the year when photography becomes widely available. And when you read my module page about the invention of photography, you'll see why I worded it that way. But this was also the time when revolutions and demands for freedom and equality continue. So we have workers' uprisings in France in 1848 that will inspire this guy named Karl Marx to think about what it would mean if the working class actually owned, as he put it, the means of production, a revolutionary idea that will reverberate across time. But we also have a women's rights convention, women who have been pushed aside from these political advances, making a claim for their own political agency. And there's a quick little video here about the Seneca Falls Convention. In terms of science, you get 1859, you get Darwin publishing The Origin of Species. You get Louis Pasteur developing the germ theory of disease. So here we are in 2021 in this pandemic, and we can actually study the virus because of Louis Pasteur's theory of the germ theory of disease. We can study the virus and we can see its variants developing, mutating, and changing because of Darwin. Of course, incredibly important is this apocalyptic civil war to end the atrocity of slavery that lasts for 4 years and is a war that is photographed. Because 1861 to 1865, we have photographs now. We have documents of this bloody, horrible war. So make sure that you really take the time to dig into the reading guide and the textbook on the history, because you have to be thinking historically to understand why art is changing. That's always true in art history, but it's especially acute in this module when we see Courbet and Manet, and they are self-consciously modern artists. Modern life is understood now to be something different than life as it had been lived. The other reason why I want you to be thinking carefully about history is because, in addition to your shiny new module 6, you also have now released to you your Capstone Project, what you're going to turn in week 16 to show me what you've learned, what you can do. This is your largest point value project, your most in-depth project, and it involves a museum visit where you will see that I want you to find an artwork you love in a local museum so that you can possibly write about it in a way that I could add your thoughts to our modules. So you'll see that I've explained that finding your topic starts step 1 with a visit to a local museum or public exhibition space. This Capstone Project is a celebration of the fact that those viruses that COVID-19 virus, and that, we can identify because of Louis Pasteur. This is somewhat under control because another important scientific advance related to Pasteur's germ theory of disease are vaccines. So you can actually go to museums again. The San Francisco Museum of Modern Art is open. The Legion of Honor is open. The De Young Museum. These are all incredible places where you can actually see artworks in the flesh, as I like to say them, because this particular capstone project is about going on a visit to see an artwork. I start out by saying, if you were a scientist like Louis Pasteur, you wouldn't just look at photographs of whatever it is you're studying, the fungi, the plants, the animals. You would have to interact with the real living creature. Your artwork that you choose is a real living creature with a history. And I want you to go to the museum and spend time in front of it physically. So I'm going to send you another video that will talk in a little more depth and detail about what museums you might choose, what other alternatives there are, and how to think about your topic. But please get started by reading through this assignment now, because the next 8 weeks are going to fly by, and you want to plan your museum visit, and you want to be really clear on when you are turning in this important assignment, and the fact that you are actually going to turn in an annotated bibliography that is your preparatory work for the final assignment, and you do that before you turn in the final assignment. Oops, I'm having trouble with my cursor here. Come on, scroll bar. So May 10th, your annotated bibliography is due, and then look to here, turn in Capstone Project here, checklist. May 19th is your deadline, and I won't be able to extend that because I will have grades due very shortly after. So I want you to know now what you're working toward.